Hello, my friends. Welcome to Tackle the Beast, Scrum. Today, we're going to take a look at a Scrum visualization. We're going to go through all the moving parts of Scrum. Now, before we get into the moving parts of Scrum, let's first of all talk about a book that is really important for your PMP exam prep. It's the Agile Practice Guide. The Agile Practice Guide has a definition of Scrum. It reads, Scrum is a single team process framework used to manage product development. The framework consists of Scrum roles, events, artifacts, and rules, and uses an iterative approach to deliver working product. Scrum is run on time boxes of 1 month or less, with consistent durations called sprints, where a potentially releasable increment of product is produced. Now let's take a look. At a high level, we have 3 roles: product owner, Scrum master, and team. As you get more familiar with Scrum, it's important that you focus on the cadence, the way things should happen throughout Scrum, the timing, understanding about team definitions. To help you with your understanding of Scrum and how it works across timelines, you need to keep in mind the 3-5-3 configuration. By 3-5-3, we're talking about 3 roles, as you can see on the screen: product owner, Scrum master, and team; 5 ceremonies, which we will cover today, and 3 artifacts. At a high level, these 5 ceremonies are sprint planning, sprint retrospective, sprint review, the daily Scrum, and the sprint. We will talk about all these in detail. The 3 artifacts are the product backlog, the sprint backlog, and the PSI, potentially shippable increment. Let's go into a little bit more detail about Scrum visually. So in our rapid review, we're going to start off with our understanding of what the roles are. We have the product owner, the Scrum master, and the team. Now, because you're preparing for the PMP exam, I do want to use terminology that is similar to what you have in the Agile Practice Guide. So as you're taking the test, just be aware that terms such as servant leader could be used in place of the Scrum Master, or terms such as coach could be used instead of the Scrum Master. When it comes to the product owner, it pretty much is what it is. When it comes to the team, you got to be careful, because sometimes we could refer to the team as a development team, and other times you could hear them referred to as just developers. So read the question carefully and try to understand what exactly PMI means by these terms in each question. Now you understand what the 3 major roles are. Let's go into some detail. It starts off with an understanding of what the business wants in the form of a product backlog. Think about a product backlog as being a list of what the stakeholders or clients want. Now, just because they want it doesn't mean they're going to get it. This product backlog, which you could look at as a list of all that the client wants, needs to be broken down as you proceed throughout time in the endeavor. For that reason, you need to plan, sprint planning, what to do in each sprint. So in sprint planning, you reassess the product backlog, you evaluate the sprint backlog, and then you proceed to break down things into tasks that will be done. The summary is you'll obtain your sprint backlog, which is a subset of the product backlog. Features are selected for the sprint. The team approximates things such as duration, but a lot of teams don't. Story points could be used to understand the effort. It's a relative ranking. You just need to understand that. And the responsibilities are defined for the sprint. Afterwards, the team gets into the sprint. The sprint time box could be anywhere from 1 to 4 weeks, typically. You will see some organizations go in more than 4 weeks. The sweet spot across industry is 2 weeks. Now, in addition to this sprint time box, which spans across 2 weeks where the team is working on developing the product, we also have a 24-hour cycle where there is a daily stand-up meeting. And the daily stand-up meeting focuses on 3 questions being answered by the developers or the development team or the team, depending on what the question states. 3 questions will be answered during the daily Scrum meetings. And the questions are, what have you finished since our last meeting? What are you going to work on between now and our next meeting? Or what's today's schedule? And are there any roadblocks or maybe opportunities for accelerators? Those are all questions that could be asked. But traditionally, what you'll hear is, what did you work on yesterday? What are you going to work on today? And are there any impediments in your way? Note the word impediments. It's quite important for your exam. Moving on, the daily Scrum, we should look at it as an inspection opportunity. This cycle continues for the duration of the 2 weeks or however long, 1 week, 4 weeks. But ultimately, the team will create a working product. We call it a potentially shippable increment, ready for distribution, but doesn't mean we will release it, but it's a potentially shippable increment. After the potentially shippable increment is produced, there should be a demo for the client of that PSI, potentially shippable increment. For that reason, there is something known as a sprint review meeting. The sprint review meeting takes place and we demo the product for the client. Last but not least, in the world of Scrum, we have a retrospective. And the retrospective meeting is an opportunity for the team to inspect and adapt itself to the work being done, to look forward, to look at things that could be improved on, what went well, what didn't go so well, what could we improve on. It's not a blame game. There's a term my buddy Roy and I use, which is Agile Vegas. Whatever happens in the retrospective stays there. Now, outside of the formal ceremonies which I've shown you, we have one more to talk about, and that is backlog refinement. Backlog refinement should happen at some point in the process. And as opposed to saying demos for clients, we should say this is a prioritization by value and other factors. And one of the terms that we use for the product owner is the chief value officer. And the reason why we say that is the product owner is responsible for the overall prioritization of the product backlog. Note the word. You see, I've made an update here by value. Product owner should also be aware of other factors. There should be considerations for risk and many other things. But remember, this is just a high-level view for you to understand the world of Scrum. Thank you very much for joining me. And if you're looking to improve on your understanding of these topics for the PMP exam, you need to go on down to our website. It's praizion.com, praizion.com. At praizion.com, we have lots of opportunities for project management masterclasses that cover the entire syllabus for the PMP exam. You could sign up for live, on demand. You could sign up for a purely Agile course that will break down Agile for you in such a way that you'll come out a success once you have mastered the concepts we train. So go on down to praizion.com And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Tackle the Beast. You take care and bye for now.